Also in the Big Ten is where you'll find our game of the week on CBS when the undefeated and 8th-ranked Indiana Hoosiers look to keep things rolling against Michigan today, Danny.
Jordan, this is the most disrespected team in the country. The fact they're ranked where they are outside of the top 5 is atrocious to me. Everyone's criticized their schedule. Now they get a chance against a true blue blood in the Big Ten that's already played Texas, that's already played Oregon. You can have a little score comparison here, which I wonder if Kirk Cignetti is going to take into consideration. I know Michigan is beat up. They've got some question marks on the defensive side of the ball with injuries. Who's playing quarterback? I still think this will be a good test for Indiana, but I'm going to go with like every other test they've had. I think they pass it with flying colors.
Well, this Kirk Cignetti-led team has been phenomenal all season, and man, oh man, have the tables turned. The powerhouse that was Michigan, the defending champs, and now you have Indiana undefeated on the season and just rolling. What has been the most impressive about how Kirk Cignetti has been able to turn this program around?
Well, I want to make note here because this is the first time that Indiana has been favored against Michigan since 1968, wow. I think. Who even know they were keeping odds back then? Like, who would have even thought of that, right? But when you think about this Indiana team, Kirk Cignetti has done a great job of just keeping them locked in and focused week in and week out. They don't listen to the noise, whether it's, oh, they're great or, oh, they're not playing good competition. They're just playing a good style of football, offensively, defensively, special teams, run game, pass game. They're doing everything really, really well. And I've been super surprised to see Curtis Rourke and the comeback that he had last week coming off that hand injury. I mean, he threw for 4 touchdowns. I mean, he looked really good in that game. I just think that Indiana is a very complete team. I think Kirk Cignetti, being from the Nick Saban coaching tree, he understands what these moments mean. He understands how to get his team motivated and keep their laser focus on the task at hand, which is going 1-0 each and every week.
It's a crazy turn of events. I mean, Beanie, you played for Ohio State. Were you ever scared or intimidated playing Indiana back in your day?
I think a couple of years there, like 2016, 2017, they gave Ohio State a run for their money. But when I was playing, there was never a time where you were thinking about Indiana being dominant. Now they're on the brink of school history, first 10-win season in the career there for the University of Indiana. I think they're doing phenomenal. Kirk Cignetti, it's just everything about him just exudes confidence.
He wins.
You know, when you get guys that buy into what he believes, I mean, it's incredible what they're doing there. That's sort of amazing.
One of the reasons I think it was so huge, and I've mentioned it a couple times on this show, he brings almost his entire staff from James Madison, where they had won championships, brings 13 players with him from James Madison. So they were already used to a winning culture, and they were familiar with the system that they wanted to run. So you have that confidence of those players, and then you have the leadership of, hey, and you know how it is in practice. You're a running back. You guys know you can help out a young receiver. Say, hey, this is what we want. This is what we're trying to accomplish on this play. This is how we practice at this pace. Like all those types of things that are so vital to a program's success. I think that's a big reason why. And then you find a quarterback like Curtis Rourke, who won at the MAC, played a lot of football. He brings leadership, and he's been one of the more efficient quarterbacks in the country. And I think might creep into the Heisman conversation. Maybe not after today, but if he pulled off the upset against Ohio State, I think that would be his ticket to New York City.
You know, when you're a team like Indiana, you go undefeated, there's always going to be haters and people who say that, argue that you haven't played anybody yet. What would you say to those people who think that?
They didn't. Miami hasn't played anybody yet. Nobody's criticizing them for it. They're still ranked in the top 4. You know, there's other teams. Texas really doesn't have a great win. They played against Georgia. That was a tough opponent. But and the other thing is they have been more impressive than Miami. Miami has not played a ranked opponent, and Louisville's the one ranked opponent, but they have blown out everybody. Indiana has been in complete control of their games, leaving no doubt who the better team was. I would say those combination are the things why you should be saying, hey, we're underrated and we deserve more respect.
All right, let's go ahead and talk some more about Indiana and the season that they're having as we welcome for the first time today our own Sportsline analyst, Mackenzie Brooks, for more on Indiana's playoff hopes as the Hoosiers finally, Mackenzie, broke into the top 10 this week in the AP poll and ranked 8th in the first college football playoff rankings. Hoosiers 9-0. Above them are 5 teams with 1 loss, and 2 of them are in the Big Ten. Are we undervaluing the record for Indiana?
From a quant perspective or a model perspective, I think I can speak for a lot of them to say that we always are factoring in your schedule and the strength of your schedule and the strength of your opponent and neutral site power rankings. And that is why Indiana you'll see lower than a Penn State. Even their odds to make the playoff, odds to win the conference championship, all a lot shorter than teams like Penn State. Now, what I will say is getting a win against a team like Michigan, although Michigan isn't what we thought they were going to be, like Danny mentioned, just a big program, a blue blood here. that will really be the final bullet on that resume to say, hey, we really should be a respected team. And I think that's when you'll start to see them move up in the power rankings here. So it's the style of how they beat Michigan that I think will speak really, really loudly for this team. Huge game for them this week to show that they should be respected.